Oh my god. Is he going to see it from the high ground? Wham versus Viper. Already just happened in Golden League. Viper's like, been there, done that. Wham's like, yeah, but rematch. Let's go. That was possibly one of the most British introductions I could have done. Well, in a way. I didn't start singing Royal Britannia and sipping tea, so I guess that's a direction we can always pursue in the future. But for now, we will continue to pursue Hill and Dale. I feel like we are here so bloody often. This should be a good one. NA versus EU. El Clasico fight here as Viper is going to be representing as the HRE. Meanwhile, Wham has chosen to go for the English on a map like this. Curious to see if he's going to go for early sort of tempo aggressor or if he's going to do this build. We've been seeing out some other English players where they just stay on the high ground and try to boom up to castle and beyond. Overall, though, I feel Wham, his playstyle, I wouldn't be surprised if he leans towards that kind of castle up. I would love to see some early presence with outposts, though. I think it's just the way to play Hill and Dale right now. When you're up against eco-boomy type civs, you should be looking to like deny equity early on. It's a lot easier ever since the change-up with the secondary tree line being shrunk to baby size, right? It means that usually you end up in a situation where you can actually wrap in with outposts on either the north and south flank and then at least deny some resources. The cool thing actually for Wham is if he wants to go aggressive on this one, all the wood is situated to the south side. So if you get an outpost on the north here and then an outpost in the choke between these two wood lines, I don't feel like Viper can actually get anything in his base. And he'd be forced out into the Midlands where he can be exposed to longbows. So we'll see if he goes to that play. It's a little bit awkward sometimes depending on how reactionary the HRE player is, because in theory, like, you know, if they play quickly into feudal and then get their stables down, they can slap you, especially when you consider that a lot of these English players don't actually rush towards the outpost spam anymore. They might go for it, but usually it's a little bit more delayed than it used to be, because usually they want to get the initial farms down, right? That's a side investment to ensure that your food is bolstered better in the next 5 minutes, but it does delay any sort of feudal aggression as well as any sort of outpost timing. But opening up, we are going to see the wheelbarrow already being researched by Wham. Straight off the mark. And no comparative out of Viper just yet. Is playing with fairly condensed lines in the prelate. Sir, keep moving. Keep moving the corner. So Viper's kind of halfway there with the sheep. But I don't think he done, like, I don't think he optimized this. Usually what you want to do is you want to move the sheep to the west corner, so you minimize the time the prelate spends running. Even more so ever since the bust, because realistically in the situation, he's gonna spend like 1-2 seconds max turning around and then buffing between the gold and the food. So I feel like you're missing out on an additional villager maybe being juiced up. And looks like Viper is not going to go for the Archon Chapel. Interesting choice in this generation. I can kind of see where he's coming from, though. He didn't get the nice double value of wood plus something else. Maybe you get the deer, but you'd want the gold ideally. Instead, he's going to go for the Minework Palace. It's something we've been seeing more frequently out of HRE players, and for multiple reasons, for very good reasons, in fact. I feel like the Archon Chapel kind of just turned into a bait over time. Usually you want multiple prelates by the time you're arriving in castle anyway, so you can go for the relic. So you might as well just build more prelates initially to begin with, and then use them to buff the lines independently. And also, an Archon Chapel loses its efficiency very fast unless you fall back and build farms. And actually, a lot of these games don't necessarily end on farms. A lot of players are trying to end the game faster than that. And although the HRE is one of those civs that might transition to farms around Imperial, they're also a civ that I think we've seen a bit more experimentation with onto pocket ecos, especially once you reach that castle age. So Minework Palace just feels better, because Minework Palace with the buffs has some utilization as a reactionary tool or an aggressive tool in the early age with the 30% reduced time to research as well as the cost. But then where this gets phenomenal is in the late game for the cost element. When you're paying about 1,000 resources per tech, saving 300 is a big deal. And it definitely adds up fast. Meanwhile, looks like Wham is going to be going in for the council hall. Built in an interesting location. Looks like he pulled all 3 of the gold workers to do this. In the meantime, continue to just scale his farmlands up to 3 already. I'm curious to see how many Lombos he's going to pull. I wouldn't be surprised if we get between 5 and 6 Lombos being pushed early on to just try and force a reaction out of Viper. Viper won't have this overwhelming efficiency at first, because I think he stopped at 1 No, he has gone 2 prelates because he's going for the TC build. Okay, I was looking at the gold, I was looking at the wood, I was like, where's the second prelate? And it's actually over on the stone, so this is going to be cool. Double TC, maybe even triple. Viper's the type of person, when he's playing on Hill and Dale, he loves to boom TCs. I don't know why this didn't cross my mind. I mean, I feel like I talk about it so frequently. It doesn't matter what civ he's playing. This guy loves going to at least 3, sometimes even 4 TCs. We've seen him even do it with the French. The cool thing is that right now, I'm not sure if Wham is going to, like, play aggression. He is! Okay, this is going to get hyped then. So Rack's being popped down. Wham is going to look to get up in Viper's face early on, so it's not going to be just a free pass for him with this type of build. Cool thing about having that secondary TC is, like, you don't feel crippled by all these extra prelates as well. Sounds obvious, but, like, I think it's easy to forget. Like, every time you produce out of your one TC, you know, you're sacrificing a villager to get that prelate production. And it looks like the TC is going to be placed on top of the deer. So just hiding the info. Interesting choice here. He doesn't want to reveal what he's doing. And Wham, I don't know if he'll spot it. He's going to wrap around. He has to. There's no way he doesn't. And that means he's going to know exactly what you're doing. So there it is. Info fed back just as he completes the tech up. Wham now realizes that he might be making the right choice here in going to the racks and pushing for aggression. And I like that he got the racks ahead of time. A lot of players wouldn't do this. They'd wait until they had horsemen up in their junk, and it would be a little bit too late. Instead, he'll get the initial spears out, and then also look to establish the outpost, after which he could build a proxy racks. Actually, just whipping a strategy out of Viper's base if he chooses. Viper's playbook if he chooses, because Viper has been doing this frequently when he's been up against opponents as the English himself on Hill and Dale. He does like to move out, drop the initial outpost, and then keep the villager on the front to build up racks, allowing him to push man-at-arms that can overwhelm his opponent. It's going to be interesting to see if that is the strategy that comes to mind. A feudal aggression between HRE and English, where both push man-at-arms, could be quite interesting. On the scout, we'll get the vital info of what's coming. And this is where Viper might need to react. We'll see if he just feels like he can shrug it off. The interesting thing about the way the English oppress you is they don't really end the game. It's not about these siege ram rushes anymore that we used to see out of the English. It's more about just boxing your opponent in, containing them, and starving them out. Something that actually is very effective against HRE. I think it's one of the more plausible strategies to do against them, because the reality is that the HRE is extracting their resources 40% faster, which means that they actually, although they get a huge buffer to the gathering rates, they are moving out from their initial resources super quick. So if you're able to box them in and not give them any sort of exit point, it forces awkward transitions where instead of rushing castle, they might need to react with a siege workshop into siege engineer, a blacksmith into siege engineering rather. They might need to build a feudal aggression force or defensive force in this situation. And it means they're not really realizing their true potential up in castle and beyond. And the creep in begins. I like that Wham was very strategic about this. He didn't just rush forward and drop an outpost next to the wood line. Now he has the attack speed buffer. He has the means to put more outposts down. And all of a sudden, Viper out of wood. Precarious situation he now finds himself in. And all it's going to take is 3 outposts to deny all of the wood in the base of Viper. And it looks like, yeah, he's going to have to shift to straggler trees. A smart, astute play coming out from the snake. You don't want to go for the primary wood line because that might get scouted. These straggler trees, though, less likely to be identified. I say that. Viper is... Oh, no. He's shifting that direction. We'll see if he gets noticed. The scout is on the forefront, so there is a chance that he doesn't get seen. And he's dropping a TC down here as well. It is the typical Viper. Free TC play, but the third one is actually well hidden here, considering that right now, Wham is keeping his scout on the forefront, right? He's not pulling him off. He only has 1 scout to begin with. He wants to make sure he gives vision over the longbows, meaning he's sacrificing critical info that could be gathered. We'll see if Wham's quick to identify this, though. He has to realize something's up. Like, he hasn't seen any aggression. He can't see any at all. His opponent isn't wood. The most logical thought in Wham's mind should be that his opponent still needs wood. Where is he getting it from? That being said, there is a paranoia probably in Wham's mind that this could just be a Burgrave pass play, in which case Viper doesn't require wood. He only needs food and gold. And oh my god, is he going to see it from the high ground? No! No! If he weaved that, if he just got the vision. Oh, but he's suspicious. He's moving around now. So if he follows around, he's going to identify this. And that could be exposed to just 1 or 2 rams and a small group of longbows. And there's no easy way for Viper to defend that right now. It's all about whether the Snake Man can get enough value out of this investment initially, though. And there it is. There it is. Alarm bells are going off. Wham sees everything now. As he got the blacksmith down, he has siege engineering, is now prepped. He knows exactly what he needs to do here. The way he wins this is by starving out Viper on the wood. And that's why he shifts the longbows away. Doesn't even go for the additional outpost. He sees where the value is right now. And he will shift across for it. The time on this should be quite nice, actually. Only 35 seconds away from being able to build up that ram. Building up a sizable quantity of longbows in the meantime. And Viper now realizes the goose is cooked. He knows that he's been spotted out the back here. Will even end up losing the scout by the looks of it. Not really sure why he's hanging around for that fight. Seems he didn't notice. Decent amount of prelates here. Decent gathering. Looks like food and gold is there. So Viper can now go for the Burgrave Palace. And yeah, it has to be. Like, I don't think there's any world right now with this pressure on you where you go Regnitz Cathedral. Regnitz Cathedral is you throw in the game. So love that Viper identifies this. He needs to get his racks efficiency without having access to wood. This is the way you do it. And also, the things you're going to be producing, it's going to be the man-at-arms, right? So you're only paying food and gold. And those are the two things that you actually have surplus of right now. Outpost attempt is going to be denied. Nice move there by Wham. Numbers do need to be careful. They are in TC range. We'll peel back for the moment. This should be where the Ram gets rushed up. And then the Ram with the Wham. Wait, Wham with the Ram. Wham? Ram? Wham with the Bam Ram. There we go. Wham Bam. Thank you, ma'am. As this Ram will definitely get his value. Outpost being targeted. And tech up for Viper, but look at the numbers for Wham. He's ready to go as well. He's going to be slightly behind his opponent here, but he's keeping the pressure up. And look at this switch around. Instead of going for the TC in the end, he doesn't want to waste time because remember, emergency repairs will stunt his ability to push in on this. He needs to go after the villagers. And that's going to be free. We look at Wham. Moves in. Ooh, the textile's just too strong. Not enough damage. We'll have to back away. Tech up is at least ready for Wham. This should be the King's Palace being plopped down in a second. Does need to find some value soon, though, because the man-at-arms are being produced. They've already been upgraded into their castle form. That's not to say that they are literal walking castles, although in some ways they are chunky enough to be so. And it looks like he's sneaking this around the back. Doesn't want to reveal what he's doing. This could be an interesting play. If Viper's intent is to go on the east side and then wrap towards the eco lines, this might catch Wham off guard. But Wham, he's not a silly sausage. You can see he's already prepping the double archery range with the tech up. It's going to immediately switch up into crossbows, ready to counter out everything that Viper's going to push. There we go. Moves up. Wham, still gathering on the stone. I wonder if he'll eventually play for a keep just outside of Viper's base. That could be a strong point to play off of. Remember, the English do get the ability to produce units out of their keep. So not only is it a strong defense, it's also a military production building. And why that's important is it means that you can actually just insta-produce trebs on the front and save yourself 300 wood from investing into that building. Viper very much stabilized now, though. Relics starting to be collected up. Wham, is he going to play for something similar? Looks like that is not the case, so Viper will get a lot of value out of this. Doesn't even need to build the monastery, remember. He can just park them inside the outposts. And it looks like he's sneaking knights to the backside, hoping this goes unnoticed by Wham. Speaking of sneaking, he's on the move. Here we go. It's a slow assault. Not as slow as it would be for English man-at-arms, mind you, courtesy of the marching drills. He's going to look to sneak straight into the eco lines, and even if he doesn't kill many villagers, he'll at least put a bunch of economy idle in Wham's base. And it won't be that hard to kill him either. Remember, there's no textiles for Wham. Only Viper went for it. Spearmen are going to be too late to spot this out. Archer upgrade coming out, so it looks like Wham is not pushing any unit type yet. He wants confirmation of what he suspects. However, that confirmation, I think you wish you could refund it. I think you want to decline confirmation here. Because the way you get that confirmation might hurt. Lawal in the Snake Man's base. A juicy stacked formation of all three landmarks is very enticing for Wham. See if he can find a way to leverage that soon. And upgrades coming out, so ensuring his outposts don't go down for free anytime soon. Viper, he splits up to look for clues. Wham is not aware of this just yet, mind you. However, it's going to become quite apparent quite fast here, the chase in. And Arms quick, the gap close. We're going to stick on top of them. The villagers will pull back, and poor targeting coming out from Viper. We'll strike at 2 locations, gets 1 villager for his trouble, forces the garrison out of the rest, and we'll chase across the wood line. And the cool thing about this is Viper, even if he doesn't kill the villagers, it's the delay. They hit now for Wham. However, he doesn't realize Wham has already built up surplus in reserve, as we can see, as we have God Vision and all info at our disposal, other than a Sacred Site timer for some reason. means that this assault won't really net you much. It's not going to slow down the push out from Wham. Being push out, Wham now looking to push out some monks, but this is fairly delayed. By the looks of it, there's only 3 relics left. Good guard point from the spears, and already moving out the center. So it looks like, actually, even with the delay, Wham should end up with 3 of the 5 relics that are in play. Because 2 should already be banked. We've got 1 here in the outpost, and a second one. There it is. So yeah, Viper getting some gold trickle, but Wham will be able to exceed it. Last man arms at the back, being a pain in the ass. Lombos will finally move in to address that. As Viper realizes that he's done here, he might as well just commit, cleave down a few more villages before he dies, and make it more worthwhile. I love that Wham didn't pull back there. I think it's like a bigger loss to pull back versus losing 1 or 2 villages. And you know, you can see he's trying to stockpile heavy. I don't know if the intent is to necessarily go for an Imperial Age. It could be. I actually quite like that idea here. Because the interesting thing about what Viper's done is because he already built 3 TCs, he doesn't really benefit much from Palace of Swabia. It's not a recovery point. He's already just going to be economically strong. So Wham could just try to realize more efficiency with the English by going to enclosures Imperial and then having a tech up advantage, which is not something you usually see up against the HRE, but it's definitely a point for consideration. For now, though, he does need to protect his size as he sees the raid in from the Horsemen after they assaulted onto the spears. So he will get the palisades up. Would benefit from some stone walls, in fact. And only Lombos right now is not going to really cut it. Wham needs to switch up soon. He's looking to upgrade the Spearmen, but not many out in the field right now. And uh-oh, Lombos, Lombos! Oh no. No, that is not a trade you want, sir. Viper will stick on top of him. Starts to poke him down, getting the bonus damage out. The Palings coming out. Only a few of them, though. Not good enough here. Just the back step. And you can see the overcalibration. Wham just reacting with the rack spam. Nice micro in the end. Actually mitigating a lot of the losses that should have been there. Viper maybe a little bit poor on the target acquisition. Means he's going to lose all the Horsemen, and he doesn't get good trade value. Remember these Longbowmen, 90 resource each, with the Horsemen 120. At the end of that, I would say there's more dead horses than there are dead Lombos. So mistakes made by Viper. Does cost him dearly. Flowing a lot of gold, but food is a little bit of an issue now. With Horsemen and Men-at-Arms on the table, it's no surprise that that's where he's struggling. The cool thing about this play early on by Viper, by the way, is he's offset what usually becomes a problem at this stage of the game, which is wood. Because he went out onto this TC, the sneaky TC, he actually consolidated his resources and he kept reserves in his base. Reserves that aren't there now for Wham. He's almost drained this wood line and he'll have to shift out into the midfield. The good news for Wham fans is he does have a good position to move out from, as he's keeping Viper on the defensive, but Viper is at least trying to be this fluid force on the map with the Horsemen, something that Wham isn't matching. Looks like another relic being collected, so it's going to be free, going the way of the Canadian bro. I say that, he needs to make sure he protects the monk. Be a good time for a wall lol. Too late now. Spears, try to buffer it away, but nope. No dice. Still a good trade overall. It's annoying that you've been denied your gold again, but it's 240 resources for a 150 resource unit. And heavy damage done to a few of the other ones. So, like, overall, not the worst trade. Still frustrating, though, because Wham was hoping to bank that relic ASAP. And what's happening? Viper now getting a second group together. Marches out into the midfield. Flank attack is going to be pretty irrelevant. Takes a long time to get through the palisade defenses, and frontal defense is now going up. So Wham realizing exactly what Viper's trying to do. He's trying to chip away at his eco from the flanks, and that's exactly why these walls are now going up. Good fight right here for Wham. That should wipe out most of the Horsemen. He starts to target them down, peppering them with arrows. Doesn't get the 5 health one, though. But nowhere that you can really run anymore. You're at least delaying any aggression, actually. That's something that you'll credit Viper with right now, is Wham. He's reacting. He's not really gaining ground. He's always coming back to his base. He's always turning around. This is the advantage of playing into cavalry. The question mark is, what is it for? What is his goal? And I think we know what the goal is going to be for Viper. He wants to get this food sorted. Once the food is sorted, he will boom up into Imperial. And although he doesn't need the Palace of Swabia, he doesn't need the Village Printer, he does want the tech up advantage. On top of that, it actually offers up an opportunity to go Elsbach Palace, which would be phenomenal in the center of this map. It would just give you a very strong point to contest from, especially when you consider the Elsbach Palace with the reduced damage to all buildings in range that it gives. It would make it very hard for Wham to breach a base stationed here. stone walls are finally going up, so Viper's attempt to torch his way in is going to be pretty moot and irrelevant here. He'll have to come through the front if he wants to make his way in. And it looks like Wham is beating him to the punchline. We said he was saving up, and now we see it in action. Wingard Palace being built. Wham vastly ahead of Viper on the tech up. And this is where you can boom on your high ground. You will need to fight for some wood soon, though. You can't just stay on your base much longer, as the wood is almost drained. But now, with the tech up, with enclosures on the menu, gold will not run out. And that's important, because gold has felt a little bit lackluster, has got the big vein, but much better value just to play hard into food and then benefit on the side from the gold gathering of enclosures. And this is where Viper will make his move. So remember, whenever you see a tech up, you should see an opportunity to strike, and that's exactly what he does. Viper enveloping the Lombos, come around the back, stabbing into him, the Horsemen. Spearmen trying to counterattack this out, but they are outdone by the amount of man-at-arms in the mixer from Viper. Army should be more or less wiped, and while that's happening now, look what Viper's doing. He has the resources required for a tech up himself, and it is underway, and it will be the Elsbach Palace at the front of his base as expected. Wham forced to retreat behind his walls. Lombos now with the attack speed as well. Still on his side. Can start to trade out a bunch of extra units. Sends out his man-at-arms. Man-at-arms, which I don't think they have armor-clad. Yeah, they don't. A little bit surprising here. Missed opportunity. You get that bonus range and melee. It's definitely worth it as well. Like, if you think about it realistically, like, you're paying 350 resources for comparison to get an extra melee resistance. You know, the first level is 175. But you're getting double the value of this for double the price. And obviously, remember, as you tech up, those researchers get more expensive, right? Like, as you go up, the price does increase. So, overall, armor-clad is phenomenal. I'm kind of surprised that Wham hasn't got it yet. Looks like he's finally going into it now. Maybe felt he didn't have enough man-at-arms for it to be worthwhile. But he knows he's going to commit to this now. He needs man-at-arms. He needs his beefcakes, his front line. They need some crossbows and lombos backing it up. Should counter out most of what Viper's trying to do. Viper, in the meantime, about to complete that Elsbach Palace upgrade. Wouldn't mind seeing him peel the relic across and stick inside this as well. Really gets ridiculous at that stage. Like, if you think about how strong this defense already is with the increased health, then you add in a relic. Yeah, good luck breaching this anytime soon. Viper is going to turtle most of it. You know, Wham would need probably like 6 trebs at least to feel good about this, because the thing you have to remember the Elsbach Palace does is this right here. Buildings in range with the influence take 33% less damage. Pretty damn strong. Trebs now wheeling out first for Viper. But Wham not far behind him. And look at the chase out. Oh, Viper hasn't reacted yet. That's a dead trebuchet. Too late to react. Tries to pack it up now, but the torch damage too high. Wham will back off. Has got the hand cannoneers coming out, so into the premium unit ahead of Viper. An interesting choice here. Viper gets caught off guard by this because he wanted to make the same play. We know he loves this in the late game. Viper is probably the most consistent gunpowder enthusiast I've seen in Age of Empires 4 so far, at least in the last month or two, ever since the Maganel nerf. And that is why he's going to hard invest now into military infrastructure so that he can push hand cannoneers himself. I actually wonder if he does go hand cannoneers, though. The reason like hand cannoneers could be awkward is you're up against longbows. English longbows have ridiculously superior range, right? You're talking about a 7-tile range unit versus a 4.5-tile range unit. So just a TLDR that, good luck getting in range to even attack. Sorry, 4-tile range, not even 4.5. Especially considering you move at the same movement speed. And if the aura attack buff is there, yeah, you're just done. So we'll see. Looks like he's going for it anyway. In theory, if your man-at-arms can gap close upon the longbow line, it's not too bad. My issue, however, is how long Viper's going to have to clash with his front line. Like, Wham is going to be well insulated by a man-at-arms line of these golden hat boys with the armor clad, sticking them up at now 7 melee resistance and 8 ranged resistance. That's a heavy amount of damage mitigation. It's half your damage almost gone. These from your frontline clash. Tribe's now starting to move out. As you can see, Wham investing in those Wingard Palace units. Very efficient. And you remember how expensive the trebs are. As you can see, 500 wood, 250 gold. Meanwhile, you pay 100 food, 100 wood, and 200 gold for the Wingard army. Which not only gets you the treb, which it's already cheaper than the treb on its own. You're going to get a spearman, a longbowman, man-at-arms, and a knight. It's an insanely valuable thing. The only issue is, of course, it takes 1 minute and 15 seconds per. Run. Viper quickly approaching PopCap. Wham, same. Wham has been playing catch-up on the eco side, but I feel like he's a lot more stable at this stage. Yeah, you can even see it on the gold count, especially. Like, gold's mattering a lot here. This isn't your typical HRE with your Regnit's Cathedral boosting your gold like crazy. Remember, he did go into the Burgrave Pass instead, so sacrifice an extra 400 gold per minute. And understandably so. He was definitely under fire. I think if he went for the Regnit's Cathedral at that stage of the game, we're not even this far in. Like, it's already GG at 20 minutes for Wham in that situation. So it was an astute choice. It does mean that he's missing out on scalability later on as a result of Wham forcing his hand. Bombard's now wheeling out. We'll start to target out the units pursuing them. Chase in. Hand cannoneers. Ooh, they want to touch it. They want to touch it. It's not going to be quick enough, though. Range resistance just a little bit too high. Looks like Wham will peel back. She needs to wait a little bit. Could do with a switch up. But instead, he's just going to commit into the Trebs. So he's going for the shattering projectiles. Could be pretty damn effective here. Understands his opponent is moving with a very slow army as well. So it's not just him. Even these small contingents of horsemen feel kind of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. They don't have any raid power. Instead, they just have the power to die. That sneak in from Wham is actually really well played. Like, the vision, he plays it to the limit. Needs to be careful. He wants to play around these auras, remember. It's a big loss to be missing out on this network of castles. Network of citadels, actually, at this stage. Up at 50% attack speed buffer, and he loses it. Nice snipe there with the bombards. Viper on point. He'll take the engagement now. Attack speed buffer coming out from the arrow volleys, trying to target out this hand cannoneers fast. The man-at-arms, the front line is holding, and Wham is taking the good trades. Barely any hand cannoneers remaining for Viper as it gets targeted out by the Lombos. The Russian horsemen now, as an opening opens up for them to breach through. They will look to fold upon the Lombos. Lombos, the only thing left standing now. A few hand cannoneers as well. And at the end of it, Viper is able to take the good trade. The front line just was not strong enough for Wham. Wham at risk of being pinned on his high ground. He needs to deal with these bombards. He knows it, but he doesn't have a quick troop to get on top of them. Lombos are at least stabilizing for the moment, but they need to back away, and he needs to get rid of these hand cannoneers. They're the things killing him faster. Has now got the incendiary arrows upgrades, so just increases damage substantially with this composition. You can see the renewed push. Viper just as quick to get more troops out in the front line. The bombard's still sustained in the meantime. Trebs being forced to back away as the wheels deals come in. And I feel like we're approaching a point where Wham is going to be stuck on his high ground watching Viper just play and skip through the meadows down below. Lombo count still looking good. Even the villagers joining in. Every man and woman needs to be armed. And this was a mistake from Wham. Why is there no outpost here? Why is there no keeper? Anything that would just give you the attack speed buffer. It might get sniped quick by the bombards, yes, but it might be the difference maker. And as a result, because he doesn't have that attack speed, he continues to forfeit ground. Wham has missed a trick here. And Viper gains a lot of ground as a result. And look at the numbers now, 21 hand cannoneers. Just as quick as they were lost, they were replaced. Numbers now looking drained on both sides. Viper looking much more healthy with the composition. Chases in, onto the Lombos. Hand cannoneers getting range. Man-at-arms as well. It's going to force the retreat out. Trades not working out for Wham. Bombards starting to roll in. The infrastructure that can be targeted on the front line here. Man-at-arms clash definitely favoring Viper with a substantial, numerous unit lead over the man-at-arms of his opponent. And now with the Longbows exposed as well, Wham looks like he might be done here. No way back into this anymore. The hand cannoneers are just too strong, overwhelming the Lombos. The range advantage no longer there. No front line to hold. The bombard's in his base. The writing on the wall here, as it looks like North America is going to be slain by the Europeans. And it looks like despite Wham's best effort, good tempo aggression, when you get into that late game, you just get into a simple rinse and repeat of Golden League, as once again, Viper will be the one walking away with a dub over the Canadian.